Let's consider another example, example number 3, of civil disobedience in the Bible. Here we have Hebrew soldiers defending Jonathan from King Saul's wrath. In this case, we're dealing with a king of Israel. We find the account in 1 Samuel chapter 14. We'll read just a portion of this account from that particular chapter of 1 Samuel. And the men of Israel were distressed that day, for Saul had placed the people under oath, saying, "Cursed is the man who eats any food until evening, before I have taken vengeance on my enemies." So none of the people tasted food. Now all the people of the land came to a forest, and there was honey on the ground. And when the people had come into the woods, there was the honey dripping. But no one put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jonathan had not heard his father charge the people with the oath. Therefore he stretched out the end of the rod that was in his hand, and dipped it in a honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth. And his countenance brightened. Then one of the people said, "Your father strictly charged the people with an oath, saying, 'Cursed is the man who eats food this day.'" And the people were faint. Then Saul, the king, said to Jonathan, his son, "Tell me what you have done." And Jonathan told him, and said, "I only tasted a little honey with the end of the rod that was in my hand. So now I must die." Saul answered, "God do so and more also, for you shall surely die, Jonathan." But the people said to Saul, "Shall Jonathan die, who has accomplished this great deliverance in Israel? Certainly not. As the Lord lives, not one hair of his head shall fall to the ground, for he has worked with God this day." So the people rescued Jonathan, and he did not die. So this is certainly an unusual story we find in the Bible, but clearly there is an ungodly request made by the king, and that is to kill anyone who eats on this particular day, and specifically to kill Jonathan, the son of the king. What is the godly response? Well, the people of God stand in the gap to protect the life of Jonathan from the fury of the king, so as to prevent him from committing an ungodly action. In this example, then, did the godly response by the people include violence against the king or the government? And the answer is clearly no. Once again, God's people step in to protect a godly man from an ungodly edict from the king. But in no way do the men raise their swords to the king or commit violence against the government.
Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to check out our full-length video on this topic, where we share 10 different examples of civil disobedience in the Bible. You can check it out right here.